When I make a kite using a carbon fiber spine, I have a choice. Well, I have lots of choices, I guess, really. But I can make the spine itself bent before I install it in the kite. That's what I did with this one. Now, I made a video a while back, quite a while back, about one way to accomplish this. And that was, I just took a piece of flat carbon that I would normally use for a spine, and I used my utility knife, and I split it so that it was two pieces from one end to where I wanted the bend to start down here. Then what it shows is I would glue those two back together, and while the glue was drying, I would clamp it to this piece of aluminum yardstick that I bent and clamp it to it until the glue dried. And then I would remove it, and because it's a laminated carbon right here where the bend is, it would remain bent. And that works pretty well, except that not all carbon fiber flat pieces split easily. Some split much easier than others, and you never know in advance which is which. So to avoid that problem, there's a couple other solutions. One of them is this. I took a thin piece of carbon fiber. This is a rod, a 0.04 inch diameter rod, and I glued it to a very, very flexible, very thin piece of flat carbon fiber. This is 0.5 millimeters thick. This one that I split was 1 millimeter thick. So here it's a half, and look how flexible it is. So what I did then is I took this rod and glued it to this while it was clamped in this form right here. And when it came out, it has a permanent bend. Now, the bend is much less, or a little less for sure, than the bend in the form that I used. And this is something that happens with every bent spine I've made, is that to varying degrees, depending on the type of glue that you use, it will straighten out a little bit, and the bend will not be as severe as the bend in the form that you clamped it to. So with this, it was a very easy thing to do, and it made this very flexible flat piece exceedingly stiff, which was good. It's what I wanted. So if you don't have a piece of round that's small enough diameter and lightweight, because you don't want a super heavy spine if you can avoid it, but you have a larger diameter piece of round carbon, you could split it and put one of the split pieces glue it, just like I did the round one, to one of the flexible pieces of flat carbon. Now, the other thing is you can use two pieces of flat carbon like this. These are 0.5 millimeter, and you can get them in thickness, and you can get them 0.3 inch or millimeter thickness as well. So you could have a very lightweight but very stiff spine with a bend in it already that is permanent. And when you laminate this, especially if you use the glue that I now have found to be the best for these kinds of projects is a two-part epoxy. I don't think it matters what kind or brand or anything, but two-part epoxy. It has two really good benefits. One, it takes a little while for it to set up. That allows you time to spread it, get the form situated with your clamps before it begins to set up. That's a big plus. The other is when you remove the clamped bent spine from the form, the epoxy holds the original shape much, much closer than either super glue or T8000, which is like a contact cement, and T8000 is what I used here. It works, but because when it dries, it remains flexible. It means it allows the carbon pieces to move very slightly. You can't see them move, you can't feel them move, but the bend that you put in it becomes reduced after you remove it from the form. With the epoxy, much, much less, or maybe not at all, depending on how long you wait for it to set up. If it's completely set up and cured, you may not even notice any difference at all. And the finished product is going to be very, very stiff and still very lightweight. So these are different ways, in addition to splitting, that can help you create a spine that's carbon fiber, so it's very durable and virtually unbreakable. And it does not need to have a tension line attached. Now, when you attach a tension line, like on this kite, right here is my tension line, and I use a knot that's an adjustable knot on this line that's called a taut line hitch, and I can adjust the amount of bend. That's one compromise you make when you make a permanent bend spine. You do not any longer have the ability to change the bend. But generally speaking, the bend isn't changed very much during very different wind conditions. I do change it a little, but not a lot. And whether it's even necessary to change it, I'm not even certain, but it's a habit, I guess. So that's what I do. But this, you can just take this out of the equation when you use a pre-bent spine. That's one of the nice benefits about it. The other thing is, if you make more than one kite and you have a form like this, or maybe bigger, you can laminate several spines together at one time, clamp them all at one time. Now, when I clamp this, now you can see I have wax paper taped to the metal form so the epoxy or the glue won't leak out and stick to it. But I also put a piece of wax paper on top before I clamp it, for the same reason. And but you could put several of these through here and clamp them individually or clamp them all together, depending on the type of clamp that you had. You could use a clamp like this, and you could clamp several of them at one time, so that you could kind of streamline your kite making if you were interested in making more than one with a pre-bent spine.